Alright, this is IMAX Nation 1980 here with another upcoming Disney Thoughts video. In the last video, I went over Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides and Cars 2 and discussed, how much they'll make and my opinions on them, and of course I'm going to go see them and whatnot. So, before I move on to Winnie the Pooh, the next big Disney film coming out, I'd like to talk about the Toy Story Toons, which are going to be a series of short films following Toy Story 3. Now, if you haven't seen Toy Story 3 before, please do not continue watching because, spoilers galore. Anyway, the way Toy Story 3 ended, it, of course, hinted at a possible, fourth film, Toy Story 4. But instead of Toy Story 4, Pixar is doing something much better. Instead, they're doing short films and spin-offs based on the characters, which I think is better than going for a fourth film, because then that would have been pushing it. Toy Story is perfect as a trilogy, and it ends quite nicely. So making short films doesn't really hurt it, and besides, they're spin-offs. So if you go to see Cars 2 in theaters, you're going to see a Toy Story short film titled Hawaiian Vacation. There was a first look of it that Pixar had posted a while ago on their Facebook, their Twitter, and YouTube. You can check that out. It's basically Barbie and Ken, of course, them being at Sunnyside Daycare, but they go on Hawaiian vacation and end up in Bonnie's room, and they think it's Hawaii. It looks pretty funny, and of course it's going to be before Cars 2. And actually, the UK trailer for Cars 2 that was just unveiled a couple days ago. And, the other international trailers that were revealed a couple days ago when the new trailer came out, they mentioned the Toy Story short at the end. Pretty interesting. And there's going to be another short film when the Muppets comes out in November, but there are no details on what that Toy Story Toon is going to be about. That's what the shorts are going to be called, the Toy Story Toons, kind of like the Cars Toons, the Mater's Tall Tales, except these will be in theaters. Only one Cars Toon was in theaters, and that was Tokyo Mater. So I'm looking forward to those short films. Alright, so Winnie the Pooh is the next big release from Walt Disney Animation Studios. This will be their 51st full-length animated feature film. And unfortunately, this one might not do very well at the box office. Now, I'm very excited about it for a number of reasons. It's hand-drawn, which is nice, and also it looks like a nostalgic hark back to the original Winnie the Pooh short films. And it doesn't look like a cash grab all that much. It's focusing on all the original characters, none of the characters that Disney created to sell merchandise. It looks brilliant. You got to check out a trailer for it. It just looks great. And the animation looks really good too. It's nostalgic. It looks just like the original, the storybook look of the original. From the originals from the 60s and the 70s. You have to check it out. It is open in the United Kingdom and most of Europe, and unfortunately it has made nothing over there. It was barely marketed from what I've heard. I heard that there was barely any advertising for it, and that leads me to wonder, is Disney really confident in hand-drawn animation? Look at how The Princess and the Frog did back in 2009. It was released the week before Avatar opened, and it had a lot of competition to fight, and it had a pretty decent multiplier, and it ultimately crossed the $100 million mark, but that was ultimately below what the previous film, Bolt, had made in 2008. And, I think Disney should have released it on another date so it would have made money. Supposedly it's made it back in Blu-ray sales, but that's the thing. It should have done better in the movie theaters, and now that Tangled, being a computer-animated film, has outgrossed it, Disney might use that argument if Winnie the Pooh doesn't do well and say, see, they like CGI. It will be like 2004 all over again. But then again, John Lasseter wants to bring back hand-drawn animation. I guess it's either Disney's not confident in it, or they just want to, stick with computer animation. I don't know. It depends on how Winnie the Pooh does. Luckily, it was low budget, so if it does well here in the States, if it's marketed correctly, when released on June July 15th, then I guess hand-drawn animation will, there are people who are suggesting when will the next renaissance begin. Right now we're going through the third golden age because of the number of films being produced. Animation, there are tons of animated films coming out, and a lot of them are, decent and very high quality. This isn't like the early to mid 90s when you had animated studios trying to compete with Disney. You had films coming from Fox and you had films coming from Warner Brothers. And a lot of those films, I won't mention any, but you probably know what I'm talking about. They flopped and got bad reviews and, paled in comparison to what Disney was offering at the time. Around the mid-80s going to the mid-90s would have to be the second golden age in animation. The first golden age would have to be, 1937 to 1942, from Snow White to Bambi. So the third golden age is definitely going on right now. I believe it started sometime in 2007. That's where I mark it. But the Renaissance has not begun yet because there's still, the art form of animation still needs to be, there's more possibilities to be explored. And I think Disney should do this instead of, not taking risks. The Princess and the Frog is an indicator that Disney, will take risks. But unfortunately, if Winnie the Pooh doesn't go over well, we can only imagine what we'll be seeing in the future of Disney animation. Of course, Pixar's future, there's always something to look forward to, despite their sequel-heavy slate, but I want Winnie the Pooh to be a success and at least trump that budget. Just pass it. I think the budget was about $50 million, I think, $60 million. It certainly looks inexpensive, but I would like it to do well. So far, it's got, pretty decent reviews. I think that right now on Rotten Tomatoes, from all the European critics who have seen it, have given it has like a 70%, which is good. We'll have to see when it opens here in America, see how Disney markets it, because they did release a trailer, but when I went to see films like Tangled or whatever in the movie theater, they didn't have the trailer before it. So I can only imagine, how Winnie the Pooh is going to do, and what the future of traditional animation will be, because Disney's next film after that is supposedly going to be all CGI, all computer animated. That's titled Reboot Ralph, but I'll get into that once I get to 2012. So Winnie the Pooh opens July 15th, and what a horrible release date, the same day as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. But then again, Potter might be too intense for the youngest of children, and thus the young children will go to see Winnie the Pooh. But that's the thing. Disney, animation has been trying to rebuild, and, Disney makes, family films, and films not just for small children, and they're trying to rebuild that image after what they went through during the Michael Eisner era with all the direct-to-video cheap sequels and all that. And if they're going to rebuild their image, they better, start marketing these films more seriously. And I thought the marketing for Tangled was horrible, but the film did very well because of it, I guess. It was either that or it was very appealing. I don't know. But Tangled, if you look at the box office receipts, it's the highest grossing Disney animated film since Tarzan. In fact, it's up to $199 million. If it crosses $200 million, it'll be the first Disney animated feature to make $200 million since The Lion King in 1994. Pretty interesting. But hopefully Winnie the Pooh does well. Hopefully maybe it will have the same nostalgia factor that Toy Story 3 had, and who knows? Maybe it will be a success, or maybe it will flop. Who knows? I just hope it does well for the sake of good hand-drawn animation. And the good thing is, this film was done in-house at Walt Disney Animation Studios and not by, another animation unit. It wasn't outsourced like the direct-to-video sequels were. This was done right in the Walt Disney Animation Studios. So hopefully it will do well here in the States, but I wouldn't count on it. But one of these days, hand-drawn animation is going to make a real comeback. I hope so. The final release from Disney for 2011 is the Muppets movie, just simply titled The Muppets, and this could be pretty good. I mean, Disney has been reviving like Winnie the Pooh and now the Muppets. It's going to be like nostalgia factor this year. Very interesting. And I don't know too much about the Muppets movie yet, but it will be released on November 23rd, 2003. It'll feature a lot of talents in the film. And of course, it's going to be Walt Disney Pictures' big release for the holidays of the year. It's got some tough competition to go against, but hopefully family audiences will drive this film to success. And hopefully, it could revive interest in the Muppets. That would be nice. And according to IMDb, the plot is about three fans and the Muppets. With the help of three fans, the Muppets must reunite in order to save their old studio from a greedy oil tycoon. Not sure about the plot, but this could be a success if marketed right and if done right. I mean, Disney has a great marketing campaign, and it's certainly effective with films like the Pixar films and the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy and recently Tangled. But if they put that kind of attention into other films like, Winnie the Pooh and the Muppets and other films that need a big push at the box office, maybe the Muppets could be a big success. I don't know what to predict for this film yet, but, $100 million is not out of the question. If it's a very successful family film, then, well, consider that a big success. But I'm glad that, Disney is branching out and bringing back, Winnie the Pooh and the Muppets. Hopefully those will be hits.